we briefly recapitulate what we have seen in last lecture. Last lecture, we have discussed about the namespace in Python. So we have discussed about the different types of namespace like built-in namespace, module or global namespace, local namespace, even we have seen with the help of example. As well, we have discussed about the Python variable scope, how there is a different types of scope like global scope, local scope. Even in today's lecture, we will discuss in detail this important topic. So we'll cover in detail in today's session. Also, we have discussed in last lecture a flow control. So already you have used all these types of flow control in C programming, but again, we are discussing in Python how actually you can implement uh, if how you can use this flow control in your program. So actually, the all the flow controls like if else, uh, the for loop, while loop, break and continue, you have seen in the first year C programming. And similarly, we have seen the how we the if expression, how actually we can use this if in our program, what is the use. We have discussed in last lecture if else. If you will compare about the C programming and Python, you will come to know almost their syntax, their purpose, everything is same. There's only the small variation is there that you have to remember here. We have also seen this example if else, nested if. Uh, we have seen this program to check the number is odd or even. Python for loop. We have seen in last lecture how we can use a for loop, right? Range in a for loop also actually we can specify this uh, range as well as the range. For example, this example we have seen in range, the output is 0 to 10. But if you want to print this range with the help of list, so you will get the 0 to 9, all the values. And the third one is your step function. So here we have seen the step function is a 3. So 2, 5, 8, 11, 14, 17. In a step of 3, you will get the output. As well, this is also we have seen, suppose if you want to print all these words, so simply we are using for loop for I in range length of up to the value, the total length of this your list, general list. So it will print all the values. So print I like, and this I element will choose one by one, pop, rock, jazz, and you will get the output. So up to this we have discussed in last lecture up to this slide. Now today we'll start the remaining different loops. The next one is for loop with else. For loop with else. So here actually the else part is executed if the items in the sequence used in for loop exhaust. So obviously when the else part will execute when the for loop will finish or when the for loop will exhaust, when all the elements will completed or it will the execution completed, terminated, obviously that time it will move into the else part. So break statement can be used to stop a for loop. As we know, even we can use a break statement, and using a break statement we can stop the for loop. A for loop else part runs if no break occurs. And if there is no any kind of break, so it will, the for loop completed and then else part will run. So here is the example like digits 0, 1, 5. The three numbers are there in a list. So what I want to do, I want to print all the numbers and then I want to print this statement, no items left. So it will move into the else part. So suppose if, so I hope all you are practicing, and if you are not good in Python programming, even you are not good in a C programming, I suggest you to watch all these recorded video and do practice on all the programs. Obviously, it is very basic, very small program, but it helps you to get the confidence, and you will be expert in Python very soon. So for I in this is, as we know, we have to add this colon here, then the space, so whatever statement you will add, it will belongs to for loop, and when you will remove this space, it will no items. Okay. So to execute this program, so output is 0, 1, 5, no items left. But actually, you think accordingly. If you know this thing, whenever it will require, you will use this logic. Otherwise, simply without this else also, you will get the same kind of output. How? Suppose if I remove this else part and suppose I remove this space, what will happen? Obviously, this statement is goes beyond the scope of this for loop, and you will get the same output 0, 1, 5, no items left. But actually, what is the rule? Why actually we are discussing this? And suppose if you are giving a space, what will happen? After every element, you will get the statement 0, no items left, 1, no items left, 5, no items left. Why? Because I have given a space here, and obviously this statement belongs to this for loop. So whenever you are adding this else part, obviously it is moving into the else part. So actually, as per our requirement, we can use this for with else. Or so do not confuse, because why actually we have used else here. But in future, if it is required, you can implement your program by using this else, even though this program can be implemented without else. But actually, we are learning this programming language, and we should know all these syntax. And we have started practical. So in practical, you have to implement the programs using all these concepts. Okay. So the next is check a prime numbers. Python program to check prime numbers. Okay, I will give you assignment for this, and you have to implement a program. Already you have implemented a program in a C, I think, the prime numbers. Very simple program. So you have to implement this kind of program after the coding all these concepts. And even in the practical, actually, you will have to implement these types of program. The next one is Python while loop. So in a C also, you have used a while loop. While loop used to iterate over a block of code as long as the test expression condition is true. So until and unless the test expression condition is true, it will execute this body of while. And as soon as it falls, it will go outside of this while loop block. And syntax is the same. While your test expression, you have to write test expression here, and the body of while. Similarly, you use in a C programming while, and you write a test case, and you use an open curly bracket. So instead of open curly bracket here, you have to use a colon. Only this is the difference. So use this loop when we don't know beforehand the number of times to iterate. So actually there are the different way we can execute the loop logic. We can implement this loop logic, like a for loop is there, right? Even by using the number of ways. But actually, when we use a while, actually, if you don't know before the how many times you will iterate the loop, so that time we use this while loop. Now in this program, suppose if you want to add the numbers like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus up to the n. So n is actually you have to define, and you have to add all the numbers 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus. So this is the program that you have to implement. So how we can implement this program? So suppose if you want to take addition up to the 10. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus up to the 10. So first we initialize here, we define here value n is equals to 10. We declare value directly n is equal to 10. But one more variable requires sum. So sum is equals to 0. We have defined I is equals to 1. Now while. So in the while loop here, as per our syntax, while and then the condition. This while loop will execute up to the I is less than or equal to n. So I is less than or is equal to n is what? N is your 10. And I is what? That is 1. And sum is equal to 0. So initially sum value is 0. So sum 0 plus I is at 1. So 0 plus 1, 1. And then we are incrementing I plus 1, that is 1 plus 1, that is a 2. So the next time it is, so accordingly, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus in this way, the program will going to execute. And finally, you will get the output. That is, the sum is the output. You will get the output, that is a 55. So how actually we can use this while loop? So n is equals to 10. Sum is equals to 0. And I is equals to 1. While, then condition, I is less than or equal to n, colon. Now the block is created. So whatever statement we will write here, it belongs to this while loop. Sum plus I, and then I is equals to I plus 1, and then print, that is the sum. When you will execute, you will get the output, that is 55. So if you will print here, actually how the values are adding. So simply, if you are providing space, you will get the sum 1, then 3, then 10, 15, 21, 28, 36, 45, and in this way actually it is incrementing. And how it is incrementing, even if you can print value of I and the sum value, you will come to know exactly how the values are incrementing. So you can use a format here, and you can print sum and I. You can easily understand if you don't know you are not good in the program, how actually it is adding. But it is adding like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. Simple way. Because initially it is incrementing I plus 1, 1 plus 1, that is a 2, then again 2 plus 1, that is a 3, 3 plus 1, that is a 4, and it is adding with the sum. In this way, you will get the total addition of all the numbers. Okay, simple program. The next one is while loop with else. So we have seen the for loop with else. Similarly, we can use a while loop with else. So here, counter we have used. We have taken one counter, that is 0. You can use any variable name here. The name counter, it is easy to understand. That's the counter. While counter is less than of 3, so it will print inside a loop, and we have to increment the counter. Counter is equal to counter plus 1, so that it will check when it is beyond 3, or it is when it is a 3, it will goes in the else part and print inside the else. So 0, 1, 2, 3 times it will printed inside the loop, and then it will print inside the else. You can see this program. So C is equals to 0, while c is less than of 3. Do not forget this colon print inside the loop, and then we have to increment our counter. C is equal to c plus 1, and then else part, the else block is created and print inside else. Okay, so when you will run this program, you will get the output that is 3 times inside the loop, inside loop, inside loop, and inside else. So as I discussed earlier, without even this else part, you will get the same output. But as I told you, as per the logic requirement, we have to use this while and else. Okay, the next one is Python break statement. So similar, actually, break statement you have seen in C programming, right? The same break statement terminates the loop in Python. We use this break statement in C programming to terminate the loop. Similarly, in the Python, it is used to terminate the loop. Now, so here, as soon as the statement is a false or it is, whenever you are writing a break, it break the loop and it will go outside the loop. So this is a program. We'll see this program and we'll understand how the break statement works. So for value in here, okay, see here, when I enter y, automatically goes why the Python, your interpreter have not given a space, or you can say the editor, Jupyter editor now automatically added a space because I have not put a colon here. That's why whenever I am entering, directly it is starting from the beginning. But as soon as I am putting colon here, it will create a block automatically. So for value in a string, if value is equals to I, then break, print value. So instead of I, you can use any word. I have used value here, and then print. Okay. See again. Why? Because I have not put it colon. Now, for value, if value is equals to I, break, print value. See, in Python, it is very important to understand. Actually, it should stop at I, right? It should stop at I. It should print it only the str. But why it is printing all string and the end? So see, if value I, break, print value, and the end. Programming same. So as per according to this program, it should print only the str and the end refers a value. So it print S, then T, and then R, and then uh, it will break. So yes, yes, yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Correct, correct. So why actually the I is the string, na? So we have to put this comma here, inverted comma here, right? So then you will get the correct output. str, and here it ain't. Okay. So this small thing, the silly mistake, but actually it helps to learn. You have to put this comma here. Okay. Next one is Python pass statement. Now pass, what is a pass? Pass is actually a null statement. Pass is a null statement. What it means actually, the interpreter ignore this? No. Python is not ignore this pass. Actually, this pass is executed, but the result is no operation for this pass. So in a function, actually we can write this pass, or in a class, suppose if you do not want to perform any operation, so simply you will write here pass. So pass means no operation. Okay. So the next concept we are discussing, that is a function. So already in C programming, you have seen the concept of function, and in the many times you have used the function. Okay. But again, we'll see in Python how actually we declare function and how actually we pass the argument in the function. But almost the concept is same in Python and C. So function is a group of related statements that perform a specific task. A group of related statements. For example, suppose, why it is a related statement? Suppose if you want to insert an element, you want to delete an element, you want to add an element, you want to modify an element. So the different operations are there. You have used this kind of operation using function, I think, in C programming. So the related statement we put inside the function. Like to insert an element, whatever the statements are required, you will put inside insert. If you, to delete a particular statement, you will put whatever the statements required in delete. So what is the advantage you will get by the function? Because whenever if you want to insert an element, you simply call that insert element function. And whenever in the program you want to delete an element, it requires simply will call the delete function. So function help break our program into smaller and modular chunks. It will easy to understand. And repetitively, if the block of code requires simply calling that function, you can reuse that block of code. So it avoids repetition and makes the code reusable. So how actually you can define a function in Python? So in Python, you have to write DEF. DEF is like a definition. Definition, then the function name, and the parameters. You have to use colon here. Like in C programming, whenever you use open curly bracket, close curly bracket, similarly, you have to remember in Python, you have to put colon as well as the space. The space is like a close curly bracket. Whenever you remove this space, it is like a close curly bracket, and this colon is like open curly bracket. So here, this is the new thing that you have to remember. That is, you have to write DEF definition, the function definition, and the function name, and the parameters. So this is the syntax. So in Python, there is two types of function, like built-in function, a function that are built into a Python. So you can directly ready-made use this built-in function in your program whenever required. Like suppose you want to sum, if you want to average, so all kinds of the built-in function. Similarly, number of built-in functions are available in Python. So directly by calling, you can use. And then user-defined function, the function defined by the user themselves. So now we will define the function and we'll use the function. So this function belongs to category user-defined function. Okay. So Python function arguments. So we have to pass the arguments. So there's a three different arguments are there, like a default argument, keyword arguments, and arbitrary arguments. Now we'll see the first, that is default arguments. So actually here, this is a function, and here you are passing one argument. So that's why I've written actually name, and you are passing friends here, and this friends will print it here. Print hello friends. This is a simple function definition. Very simple function definition. You are passing a friends here, and it will print it hello friends. This is the output. But what about default, keyword, and arbitrary, which is almost same? So first we'll see the default argument. So in default argument can have default values in Python. So name is a default. Default means if you are not passing any argument, so that time it will display the default value, the default argument value. That's simple. So any number of arguments in a function can have default values. It is not the case only for the one argument you have used a default value. No, any number of argument. If there is 2, 3, 4, you can use these default values. For default argument, all the arguments to its right must also have default values. Now we'll see here, like the function 2, this is a function name, and the default argument is name is equals to friends. And print hello name. So you are printing here this name. Now I'm calling this function without passing any argument. So this time what will happen, it will take this default value and it will print hello friends. So this is the first output, in output hello friends. And when you will call the second function, but this time you are actually passing one value, that is world. So the output, so for the second function, it will not take default value, it will take this world name and it will print it hello world. So as per the name, this concept is very simple. The default, so actually default argument we have defined here, and you are, whenever you are not explicitly defining any argument name value here, it will print it the default value. Now we'll check the second. Now here we'll understand this concept by implementing the same program. Suppose define function 2, message is equals to hello, one argument, and the second argument name is equals to friends. Okay. Add colon then print message and name. Now I'm calling to this function 2 without any argument. Then function 2 is a name. You can write any name here. So actually I'm here passing one argument only, welcome. So obviously it will replace by the first argument by default. And the second time, suppose I am passing two arguments. So here in this program, so in the first, whenever I'm calling this first function, that time I have not passed any kind of argument. So obviously the output would be the hello friends. Second, whenever I'm calling the second time the same function, but I'm passing only the one argument. So this time it will replace by this first argument. That is a message. And your output would be the welcome friends. And third times, actually I'm passing both the arguments. That is hello world. Or I will change here so that you can properly understand. For example, hi world. So it will replace by the hi world. So when you will run, see here, hello friends. By default, it has taken then welcome first argument with the friends and third times hi world. Okay. Now, this is about the default arguments. But actually, suppose if you want to interchange these arguments. Suppose if first you are passing name and then you are passing a message. So it is not possible with the default arguments because it is replacing directly this with this. So second type we have to use, that is a keyword argument. A little difference is there. Obviously, the same thing if you want to do in default argument, you have to change into the keyword argument. You have to specify the keyword over there. So simple. The concept is very simple. Okay. So here, the same function I have used message is hello and name is friends, print message name. But what we are doing here, whenever you are calling this function, you are replacing this hello with the welcome and name with the Vishal. But when you second function, actually I'm interchanging. At the first time, actually I'm passing a value of Vishal and then hi. And the third time I'm only sending a welcome. So we'll see what will be the output for this. So here, what we did, first we have passed message is equals to welcome, and then name is equals to Vishal, and here for example this second okay message is equals to welcome, and here I will change like name is equals to Vishal and the message is equals to hi. Okay. So here actually the difference between the default and keyword arguments, here I have interchanged a name and message, replace their position. But in the output, here in the output you could see welcome Vishal. Again it replaced by the first, so welcome friends. And Here I'm passing first Vishal and then hi. But here actually in output, we are displaying first message and name. So the output is hi and Vishal. Same thing, suppose if you are writing only the function, so it will print the default argument, that is hello and friends. So that is the keyword argument. So this time you will, here the keyword is specifying, so we can say it is a keyword argument. And here the main thing is we can change their position. Suppose if you are not specifying a keyword, you will get the error message. Similarly in here also, even in the default argument, suppose if you are not specifying the second, the default word, default argument, you will get the error message. And suppose if you want to print over. So you have to practice when you will get error and when you will not get the errors. Python arbitrary arguments. So in arbitrary arguments, sometimes we do not know in advance the number of arguments that will be passed. So earlier actually we know the two arguments always, the two arguments we want to pass over there. But suppose if we don't know how many times the arguments will pass, that time we use arbitrary arguments. What you have to do, use this arbitrary argument, simply you have to use asterisk before the parameter's name. So this asterisk you have to use before the parameter. So name is this parameter we want to pass. So simply here we are putting this asterisk. And because of this, we can pass multiple values. Even the values could be different types. So even different types values we can pass in arbitrary arguments. So as per the requirement, we can even use this arbitrary argument. Check name for each in name. So as I told you, for it is not compulsory to use I only, like in C, you can use any word, any character. To understand, actually we are using each I. So now I am calling a function. And I'm passing the values, that is Ram. So multiple values we are passing here. So simply you have to put asterisk here before the argument, and we have used for loop to display all this value one by one. So Ram, Sham, Krishna, with hi we have printed all this value. So concept is very simple. About we have discussed in function default argument, keyword argument, and arbitrary arguments. Python recursion. So actually you have to implement this recursion program in practical. So in practical, you have to implement this program. So again, I will not discuss this program here, because the same thing you have to implement in your practical. So if you could not understand, you can ask me to explain this recursion program. I will explain you after your practical. Okay, so this time I am not going to explain that part. Now the next one is Python anonymous or Lambda function. So what is this Lambda function? A function that is defined without a name. Suppose
if you want to use a function without a name, a small code you want to implement, and you no need to you do not want to define a function name. That time you can use this lambda function. So actually lambda is a keyword. It is reserved keyword. So, and even the anonymous function are also called a lambda function. So the how actually the syntax is lambda arguments colon expression. And lambda function can have number of arguments, but only one expression. It may have the number of arguments. Now we'll see the program like double, then lambda x, then colon x into 2, print double 5. Actually here, what actually we are doing here, you are passing this 5 value to this function lambda. But actually the same thing is like this, like define double. So this double name function you have created, and you are passing argument that is x, that is the value that is 5, and in return x into 2, and return you are getting value x into 2. But here the same thing, without defining function, we have used implemented the same program without defining a function. How? Double is equals to lambda x, it is like x is equals to x into 2, and print double 5. So actually here you are passing a value, and here you are executing this, and you are getting an output. Okay, so it is like this. But if you do not want to define a function, you can use this lambda and you can implement the same program. Okay, now we are discussing the most important concept, that is global variables, local variables. So actually it is very important to understand this concept. Global, local, when it will change, when it will not change. So first we'll see, so practically we will implement all this program, a small program, so that you can easily understand this concept. It is very simple concept, but actually if you could not understand, it would be difficult for you. So variable declared outside of the function or in global scope. So which variable you could you call it as a global variable? A variable declared outside of the function. If you are declaring any variable outside the function, you will call it as the function, it is in the global scope, or it is a global variable. And it can be accessed inside or outside of the function. So if you are declaring your variable outside the function, you will call it as a global function. So as per definition, suppose if I am writing here x is equals to global. So I have declared this variable, that is x is global, and this is outside the function. Suppose this is our function, and this global, this variable is outside. So we can say this is a global. So, but I can access this variable even inside the function and even outside the function. So I'm calling here, and outside the function, suppose I am accessing the variable. See, so I can access even inside a function. Here I have called this function, here this function terminated, I have called this function, I can access this variable inside a function and even outside the function. But what you cannot do with the global variable, you cannot modify inside the function. So suppose you want to modify this x inside the function. So x is equals to x into 2, and then you want to print x into So you will get the error message. Why? Because you can access inside a function, but you cannot modify it. Suppose, but if you want to modify, x, then what you have to do? You have to specify the global is equals to x. You have to specify over there. Then you can modify. Now the next concept, that is a local. We'll see all this concept in detail, how actually you can modify and all. Suppose, what is a local variable? A variable declared inside a function body or in local scope. That is, you call a local variable. So inside a function. So see here, this is a function def, the function name, and y is equals to local print y. And suppose if you want to access this local variable outside the function, you will get the error message. So same thing we'll do here. Inside a function, I am specifying y is equals to local, and I want to print y here, and print y, printed local, but I want to print y outside the function. Then I will get the error message. Name y is not defined because it is not global. It is not global, it is a local. That's why I got this error message. Okay, so you have to understand, you have to implement multiple program here on this concept, so that this concept will remember you for the very long time, though the concept is very simple. Okay, global and local variables. Now here you can understand, suppose if you want to modify the global variable as we discussed earlier. So that time you have to specify here, like x is equals to global, this is a global variable and this is a local variable. But here you want to modify this global variable. So inside this function, you have to specify global x. So you have to specify inside a function this global variable, then only you can modify. If you are not specifying, you will get the error message. So global x, y is equals to local. Now x is equals to x into 2. So in the output, you will get global, global. So in Python, actually, you can work on a string. So that's why if you multiply this, even it is a string, you will get the output global, global after multiplication. So the print y, that is a local. Okay. So in this program, you can properly understand this concept. Suppose if you want to modify, you have to specify x is equal to global, and suppose you want to modify here, so you have to specify your global is x, and then y is equals to local, and then x is equals to x into 2, then print x and y. See, here you can modify global x and you can perform an operation. And suppose if you are not specifying this, you will get the error message. So we have to, if you want to modify, you have to specify. And suppose if you want to only the display, if you want to only to put the print output, then you no need to specify.
Okay.
I think the time is over. So we'll stop here. We'll continue. So this unit will finish after only the 2-3 concepts are remaining. So we'll revise this again in the next lecture and we'll finish this unit and we'll start unit number 3 in the next lecture. Okay. Thank you very much. Now you can leave the session because the time is over. Thank you.